Hello and welcome to this digital library topic, data governance policy. These data management concepts are coming more out of the enterprise business side of things and big data and the whole idea of data as an asset. And this is kind of how businesses are locking it down. They've given it all these new names. But in the end, a lot of the activities and goals of data governance are pretty similar to what library professionals have been doing for a while. This kind of is the core of it, to ensure accuracy and consistency of an organization's data, as well as security and confidentiality. So, like in a business, this would be policies and rules guiding how to input customer addresses into a database so that algorithms could later extract valuable information to do targeted geographical advertising, as well as the need to ensure that customer credit cards from databases don't get to unauthorized viewers. Here's a pretty good thorough definition for you from Wikipedia. I won't read it out loud, I'll spare you that. Here you see kind of the goals all boiled down into one little statement. And how, you might ask, does one ensure these things? With policies and rules. I took this blurb from an IBM Big Data Hub blog post in which they are talking about data governance, and I think this really describes well how policies and rules are used to meet those goals. As you can see from the basic requirements that the policies and rules need to make known, these are really similar to the categories of metadata that we've been using a long time already in digital libraries. Into loosely mapping to existing library science activities, data governance is going to become probably more and more relevant in library science work, especially starting from back in 2011 when the National Science Foundation made it mandatory that research funded by its grants make the resultant data available and disseminate it. So thus the rise of institutional repositories and then further straight up data repositories. It was interesting to note in one of the articles I was reading that it seems like data services are increasing at a faster rate in academic libraries than are data policies, and both of those are increasing much faster than the presence of data librarians. So it's all kind of at this moment getting slightly ahead of itself and all happening at once. Another article had a similar factoid, or another literature review, which said that there's a lot more research on data governance models than there are actually at this point on data governance practitioners like in the real world. So on that note, let me show you a couple of models of data governance. This one is from that same IBM blog post, which is really great. And I think the main point of this one to note would be how it loops back around. It's a never-ending cycle as you're redefining and reclassifying the business's goals for their information are changing, and new rules have to be made up on the go in the changing business environment. This is probably not going to be too necessary in library science as things don't change too fast, but it will nevertheless be an ongoing cycle. Here's another model from another article, as opposed to the IBM one, which is kind of a flow of processes through a cycle. This model, which also though is focused in the corporate zone, is more about where accountability is assigned in different roles among different data management areas. So for this article, instead kind of the process, she's more about the responsibilities and kind of how that falls in the organizational flow. As you can see from the roles, that's kind of a lot if you would think of maybe a library department in a small university, but when it comes down to it, for say a research data repository, it's going to go up to like the top of the university, and it's going to involve, department chairs for the research departments. So there's going to have to be like a lot of input from a lot of different people, in order to say determine what is quality data. Even though most of the research available online is focused on the business side, there are some pretty good examples available online of what really sound university data governance policy looks like. I looked to see if Simmons had one. I found the faculty handbook up to a few years ago. I couldn't find anything about data governance on Simmons, but also we're not a huge research institution, so that's not a shocking thing. But I did find a really nice one from NYU. They have a really great page if you want to kind of check out how this would look in the real world for a real digital library that you might be working on. As you can see on here, they've got their administrative data management policy. I should say that where corporations are, say, like trying to leverage customer data, universities, as well as their concern about the ensuring the security and the accuracy, etc., of research data. Also, this is really important in terms of administrative data, like for students and grants and faculty. That kind of thing is really, really going to be crucial, as all data now is digital. So back on the data governance main page, in addition to just the straight up policy itself written up, you can see some of the other tools that they provide in order to kind of, facilitate meeting of those policy goals, with definitions, facilitating your metadata. As you can see here, when you're doing some data entry, they got mousing over definitions displayed for the data elements. Seems pretty helpful way to ensure a high quality of data in your organization. Another thing I saw on this homepage that's pretty interesting to check out, and I thought a good sign of the quality of NYU's data governance, or at least it indicates how online their data governance is how the training and access they show here, and how it's mandatory to learn how to use the system before you can actually use the system. And I think that's shockingly maybe a new idea, but a great idea. And I highly recommend checking out my bibliography if you think that data governance might be interesting. I assure you that the sources I've cited are much more eloquent and knowledgeable than myself.